Okay, we're good. All right. Good evening. Welcome to Hunter Township Board of Supervisors meeting. And tonight we'll have, in addition to our regular scheduled meeting, a tribute to our veterans, a brief veteran ceremony. So, due to COVID-19, we are offering the availability of virtual meeting through Zoom. As we see, we have a few people joining us, so welcome to the meeting. All right, so Steve, do you have that agenda post up on the screen?
Yes, can you see it?
No, I don't.
Interesting. All right, let's try something else.
Yeah. Okay, we'll start off with the consent agenda. That's the first item on the agenda.
Actually, we have veterans first.
It is, okay. I don't have the updated copy there. All right, so let me start off. And give me a moment. All right. As you know, in the past, we would have a meeting, a gathering in the Township building or at Tel High. So this year, what I'll do is start off with our veteran ceremony. Since 2009, Hunter Township has conducted a veteran ceremony. The intention of the ceremony is to take a moment to acknowledge those Huntingburg residents living and deceased who have served in the armed forces. When I set up the first ceremony, I found we did not have a list of names of our veterans. A list was created by reaching out to the residents of our community. Mark of the American Legion and Timber of Delhi assisted us in putting together that list. Residents have been submitting names, and as the list has grown, could be put together and posted as you see in the lobby of the Township building. You can view the names of you can view the names on the Township website. For the past 2 years, we observed Veterans Day hosted by Delhi Community, Retirement Community, which was a combined effort with Huntingburg Borough. Due to the pandemic, we could not meet there this year. We ask that you submit names that are not on the list. The requirement to be on this list is that you are a veteran who has lived in Huntingburg Township, whether you have lived most of your life here or retired and moved to Huntingburg. Armed forces include the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Coast Guard, and I believe, do you have Merchant Marine on there?
Merchant Marine, also the Red Cross.
And the Red Cross. I knew I was missing something. Thank you. All right. So this year we recognize Civil War veterans and names that have been forgotten but are still remembered in the hearts of their descendants. So Kristen, could you call out some of the names of these men and women who served our country during the Civil War?
Yes, so in doing some research, I found more than 100 Civil War veterans from Huntingburg Township. Among them are families after whom Township roads are named: John Bampman, Frank Forrest, William Gibbon, and Reese Elmer Welsh. Families for whom both roads and villages are named: George William and Stuart Suplee, and Jack James and Jacob Talbot. Multi-generational families who served: James David and A. Thomas Buchanan, who were sons of John Buchanan, who served in the War of 1812, and William and Henry McConnell, descendants of James McConnell, who served in the Revolutionary War. And other families with deep ties to Huntingburg Township: Samuel Eppeheimer, whose family ran a funeral home in the township for over 80 years, and an ancestor of Margaret Eppeheimer, who wrote the Huntingburg history book. James Emery, ancestor of the Emerys who live here to this day. John Wesley Ford, Tracy Olson's great-great-great-great-grandfather, who served in both the Army and Navy in the Civil War aboard the USS Baron de Kalb. Enos Pearsall, an ancestor of the Pearsall family who founded the Huntingburg Golf Club. And John Trego, a descendant of the Tregos that owns the farm at what is now 1075 Suplee Road on which there is his family cemetery. Several sets of siblings also served. Joseph, William, Benjamin, and Martin D. Davis, William and Joseph Devine, George, Sam, and Bill Dicely, John R. and David E. Good, James, John, and Abner Griffith, William, George, and Frederick Irwin, Benjamin and John Rear Lewis, Joseph and Samuel McElduff, James and Baxter McClure, John and James McElhaney, William and John Morgan, David and William Potts, Isaac and Elam Reel, George and John Spock, and David and John White. To these and many other families, we owe a debt of gratitude for their service to our country.
Thanks, Christy. All right, at this time, I ask we take a moment of silence and remembrance of our veterans. On behalf of the Brook Township Board of Supervisors and staff, thank you. And Christy, great job for putting this together for us. Steve, we can move back to our agenda. So I see you posted it. Consent agenda. Approve the Board Supervisor meeting minutes, items 1 through 7. Do I hear motion to approve?
I make the motion.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the department reports. I've got Christy. Go ahead.
Okay, a short one this month. The Western Chester County Chamber of Commerce has rescheduled its municipal update luncheon, which is usually held in March. They've rescheduled it to November 20th. So I will be speaking and giving the business owners of the chamber news about what the township has been up to. I have good news for seniors. If you are a member of a senior center in Chester County, you are eligible for free dental care as community volunteers in medicine, also known as CVIM in Westchester. The Coatesville Area Senior Center serves Honeybrook Township. For membership information, you may call 610-383-6900 or visit their website at www.coatesvilleseniorcenter.org. A Toys for Tots collection box is in the administration building lobby until December 11th. New unwrapped toys can be placed there during normal business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we thank the Marines for delivering that box to us. Lastly, the Chester County Secretaries and Government Association will meet via the Zoom online platform on Tuesday, November 22nd, 2020. That's all I have.
Thanks, Christy. Steve, you're up.
All right. Well, one thing on tonight's agenda was the award of a contract for fuel, and once again, we received no bids. So when we get to that item on the agenda, I'll just ask the board if they can direct me to go ahead and rebid the project, and also to look for some other consortiums that we may be able to join where they have bid for fuel for multi-municipal school district organizations. The solicitor's office, Mike Renner and I have worked on revising the sewer management ordinance just recently, and I'll get a copy out to the board in the near future. We can talk about it at the December workshop. The basis for this ordinance was the one that the board had approved, half a dozen years ago or more, when the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection was saying the township had to start administering the on-lot sewer program. Well, that hadn't happened in the last half a dozen years, but it appears that it will happen when the DEP approves the township's new sewer service plan, which I expect is going to be, or I hope is going to be early next year. So we took a look at that ordinance and we made some clarifications, and we also took out what we thought were some administrative details that were duplicative or just weren't needed. And we'll be sending that back to DEP for their review and comment. Tonight we have the budget, and I'll leave that for that time. And that's all I have.
All right. Okay. Next item would be Land Preservation Committee. We don't have one present, but Steve, do you have an update there?
The only thing I have at this time, of course, we had the, oh, that wasn't good. That's interesting. We had the large recommendation for new properties to be preserved that came to the Board of Supervisors at the last meeting. The last I've talked, or I should say communicated with Shane, who's the chair of the committee. They currently are going to be missing 2 members in September, and right now they don't have any items for their agenda. He's checking with the county to see if they're bringing any items. And so perhaps their meeting for November may be canceled. I know one thing that they are discussing is canceling the farmer's breakfast because of the COVID restrictions that we would have in this room. So we could not accommodate the 30 to 50 people that we would normally have that morning for breakfast. So, but that's all I have for land preservation.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Recreation and Parks. Sherry, would you have anything to offer on that, or do Steve be speaking on that? You're on mute. You still on mute, Sherry?
Sherry?
You're on mute? Yeah, she's looking for the unmute button. There you go.
Yes. Well, I didn't really come here today as a member of the Parks and Rec, so Steve, if you could talk about that, I'd be happy to come in the future and start representing us there under that.
So that was my expectation. I just thought in case you had something to add.
I appreciate it, yes.
All right, that's, okay, Steve?
Well, the Park and Rec Board is going to be meeting this month and have a full agenda. So, you know, we're going to be talking about the completion of the comprehensive plan, and of course the board has a public hearing scheduled for that at your December regular meeting. Also, we're going to be talking about the start of the improvements, phase 1 improvements to James Humble Park, which we hope to kick off in the first quarter of next year, the planning portion. What we have to get finished first is a contract between the state and the township for the funding, so no work can begin before that starts, otherwise they won't give us money to help that along, so we'll pay attention to that. But we're going to have, like I said, you're going to have the Recreation and Parks Board will have a full agenda. We're going to be talking about programming for next year, as well as these other planning projects this year. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Recreation Park and Planning Commission. Mike?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll just briefly go over the agenda for the planning commission meeting, which actually is tomorrow night, November the 12th, because of the holiday, everything being moved up for this month. On the agenda, so at this point, we have a Keystone Court sketch plan that was reviewed by the township engineer, and a review letter issued for that, so that'll be discussed at the planning commission tomorrow evening. We also have 2 zoning hearing board applications, one for a special exception for a limited impact home occupation, and a second would be for the construction of 24 new townhouse units on the property on 322, where the Maple Inn is currently located. So that would be a redevelopment project that they would need to go through zoning at least in order to implement that. So that will be on their agenda for tomorrow night. In addition, there are 2 other items of business continued over from last month, one related to the Honeybrook Township Recreation Parks Open Space and Greenway Comp Plan, and the West Township Comp Plan for recreation for review. So they'll be offering their recommendations on both of those documents as well. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, do we have a presentation from Peter Bart?
No, we don't. In fact, I'm going to be doing that presentation this evening. I talked to Peter this afternoon, and he had some conflicts, but I said, that's not a problem. I'll handle the budget discussions. I'll do that right at the beginning of new business.
All right. And I was remiss in not calling out that Tracy Olson had a conflict, was not able to make tonight's meeting. So Travis and I will be board members for tonight. Now we're going to the open forum. So the open forum, what I'll do is I'll turn to the people who have joined my call. I'll start with Alan. Would you have anything that you'd like to say? All right. Sherry?
I do have something to say. I want to discuss the growing conditions in Honeybrook Township and the risk that our community was put in. I just heard Steve talk about it. It was unsafe for us to have our farmers breakfast with 30 to 50 people in that building.
Yes.
I am beyond upset. Last minute notices. I was a poll worker also. I didn't know this. I didn't know it until I showed up and I had to walk a quarter mile or from West Pleasant View up to the building to get there. I know many people that didn't get out. This is beyond the vote. This is about the health and safety of our community that someone forced onto us, or at least was not proactive in planning. And I'd like to know, is it Chester County Voting Services that does this stuff? How often do they meet? When do they meet? I'd like to be able to follow up from hoping the township would. My niece has COVID positive. I've been unemployed since March. I've been very careful. I would have never gone to a building I wouldn't have gone to a wedding with 5,000 people.
Right.
And where are we going with this, or is anyone going with this?
There has been a series of emails going back and forth after the fact, but of course, in regard to before, back in the spring when we had the primary, we were able to accommodate the combining the 2 precincts because the primary turnout was not as great.
Right.
But, I said, and Steve knew, and I think Steve agreed, and most of us, that if we had to combine the 2 precincts in the township building, that would be really pushing it. And I'll give, I'll give everybody a chance to follow.
Okay.
So what I did say was that I did reach out, and I'm going back several years to talk on this, and it was not the first time. We're going back to 2004 when the lines were out into the parking lot all day long. And then it got to a point where what I did is I was a committee person, so I met with all the committee people. We approached the election judge and said, could we have a separate line for people who were in wheelchairs, people have needed special accommodations? None of that has been addressed. So we were proactive then. Then I reached out to Jim Forsythe, I got to know him pretty well, he's very good, and he laid out some of the things that it would take to add another precinct if that was necessary, or, but Jim has moved on. And his replacement, I think Carol would have been knowledgeable, since she was from Honeybrook, of the situation. We have an acting director, I don't think he was fully appraised of what was going on here. And, we put out the newsletter saying that the voting was in Telhai, but, Christie put in that newsletter, with the exception that we may not have availability in Telhai.
Right.
So we're also challenged with available sites. The other location would be school or the Lions Club. And what happened a few years ago, we didn't see the numbers turning out as we did in 2004. People kind of got relaxed, thinking, well, that was just a one-off. It wasn't. And I was concerned that we were going to see it again. We did. And on Saturday, before the election, I had a conversation with Bill Ford, and we were talking about how we were going to deal with this, inadequate parking, and Bill was saying this was always happening to him. He ended up getting the word at the last minute. He has to get his guys out there, and I called out on Facebook there saying, they did a wonderful job helping us to get through the day. But to your point, yeah, it's the building, the company, the numbers, the compact, and all that. So the Republican area chair, Jessica Curtis, I've been in touch with her, speaking to her, and she was saying that she agreed the responsibility for the elected party representatives. They have to work with voter services. That's where a lot of that has to happen. Steve, Christie, and our staff did a great job in handling this, considering the things, but the end result was not very good. So, Steve, would you like to add on to that?
Well, I know that the
Sure,
staff.
go ahead. I think you've been waiting for.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I do want to respond. The township itself, I have no complaints. You guys were put in a hard position. You had to do what you had to do. John, to hear you talk about proactive in a non-COVID environment and, dividing districts, we're under strict COVID guidelines. Who from the top down is responsible for that happening?
Yeah, the responsibility was,
It's not the township.
I understand. Steve,
yeah, the responsibility comes from the county, it's voter services.
Okay.
And the one thing that I was going to say is the staff here was really frustrated through, probably starting in September, maybe earlier, because they still didn't know where the folks from Telhai were going to vote. And we had lots of people, of course, calling the office and saying, where do I vote? And if they lived on this side of Horseshoe Pike, that was easy. Here, the other side of Horseshoe Pike, well, we don't know. And it wasn't until mid-October, till voter services made a determination that everybody was going to vote here. So it was really,
Venues that would be more appropriate in our township.
I pulled up those two possible locations, but that's perhaps the only available ones we have, unless we were to look at the American Legion building in the borough.
Right, that just, yeah. So Chester County Voter Services, do they have like monthly meetings? Is it a?
I don't know, you have to check with them.
Okay.
This is Dan Lilly, can I interject, please?
Go right there.
I think you have two other options. Living God Church, were they approached? And there's also a clubhouse at the 55 and older community there, I forget what it's called, on Cambridge Road.
Nob Hill.
What was that comment?
Nob Hill is the development I think you're referring
Oh,
to.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
There's two venues there, and I live in Telhai. I understand that, they want to keep people out of here because of the coronavirus. In the future, Telhai always uses what's called their community worship center, which means that people actually have to come into a residential building. If you ever want to look into this further, there's a community center here that's disconnected from any residents. And from my experience, my observation, I'm certainly not an epidemiologist, and I don't represent health, I'm a resident here. But that building over there is completely isolated with big amounts of parking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's some
So,
rules,
we do
regulations.
have,
Oh, and by the way, I did look at 2016 polls at your township building, because I lived in that section of Honeybrook at the time.
yeah,
And, the presidential election, with, Trump and, who did he run against? I forget. Clinton, yeah. That was tremendous too. I mean, we had tons and tons of people. So I knew this year you guys were going to be deep.
yeah. Even to a point, Dan, what happened in High, that we wouldn't have, we have people coming, so I would go to the election judge and I'd say, look, at this point it's getting late, let's get everybody in the building, close the door, and post somebody outside the building and say, you know, it's past 8 o'clock, you missed it. And then this way the people, it was, you know, if you're getting late, it's dark, get them inside the hallway, they're at least to be inside. So some of those steps are overlooked, and, you know, we did have a good situation over the years where the committee people, two from each party, would talk and work things out in advance. I haven't done that in a few years, and I don't think those steps have been followed through anymore. So,
Do I hate to say that there's people that were sitting in their cars back at 322 didn't get a chance to vote if they were inside the polling place?
no, they go ahead. Yeah.
I spoke with Bill Ford about this. They posted a truck as to the last car.
There you go.
And they double checked with Water Services to make sure that that was, you know, an okay practice. They were fine with it. So the last car, had a truck behind them with flashing lights and so forth. So everybody who was in line in their car did get into those.
All right, very good, thank you.
Yes. All right. Sherry, I know that another challenge we had is getting the word out, and I was sending out some emails. One of the poll watchers reached out to me, said that he didn't know, he wasn't aware. Yeah, we have to get better at this, and,
I really don't hold the township responsible at all in this matter. Chester County Voting Services has a job to do. They were paid. Town High is a retirement community. It has restricted guidelines since we have the grandparents way on the seat. You understand what I'm saying is, Chester County Voting Services shouldn't have even worried about the individual voters and how they could do it. They knew in March, when this pandemic broke out, that one of their sites was a retirement home. So I'm going to keep making noise. I hope you can tolerate me, but I'd like to have some guidance to it because I'm curious about that.
well, the committee people for Democrats and Republicans, that's a start.
Okay? Are they two separate committees, you mean, or?
Committee people, this,
on each team?
the Republican Party has in your precinct, meeting Zach and Tim Arndt. And I don't know the Democratic, committee people for precinct 300.
The 300, though, I can find that, okay. Okay, I appreciate y'all listening to me. I've had some others. My husband did not vote. We went out there 4 times. He dropped me off. He can't walk. He can't sit in line or even park in a car for 2.5 hours. He's got work to do.
Sure.
And I think the wait in line at one point was 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
That's just not acceptable. So,
Yeah, in 2004, we had people waiting comparable times, if not even longer than that. And we did have some people end up having to, go home to dinner and take care of their families.
yeah, so.
All right. All right, we can follow up next month on any updates, and we can post that on the website for any additional information. All right? Look, at this point, open forum, Dan, anything that you would like to add?
I'm good, thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, at this point, let's go to the new business, so.
John, you wanna wait and see if there's anybody in the audience here who wants to speak?
Oh, okay, I wasn't aware that there's anyone in the room.
Yeah, we have a half a dozen people here.
That's good. All right, could I say people on the left side of the room?
You guys wanna talk?
Yeah, I'd like to say something about the.
Just announce who you are.
Why, you guys know.
John doesn't know who's talking.
Terry Schmidt. Hey,
Yes, sir.
the, voting
We're
commission,
going to need microphones.
well, you're just gonna have to listen better. Hey, the voting commission.
If you can move up, the only microphone is on that tape.
It's not that important, yeah.
All right.
All right, John, anybody to the right?
Anybody to the right that wants to speak?
Sam Fisher.
Sam Fisher,
Come on,
John.
please, or can you hear me?
Okay, Dan, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear him?
Yes.
Yeah, I was out, I was pushing to get a lot of Amish to register to vote and stuff, not just in this township, but other townships. You know, there was a lot of them that registered that did before and stuff. And, you know, Tuesdays is weddings, they can't sit, you know, if they have a wedding, come in 3 or 4 hours and stuff. My biggest concern was something was set back in September, they still didn't know. Why didn't the township get proactive and get their attorneys involved with it, tell voter services, we're not equipped. I mean, there's, you know, not even facilities for the people to use the bathrooms and stuff. So that's what should have been done. It was just like down in Philly, when they were told they had to stay 100 feet back for the observers. They went to court, they had, in a couple hours, they moved up to 6 feet. And there's no reason the township didn't get proactive in September, when voter service said, well, we don't know. You just take the court and say, we need to know now, and we can't handle it. And back in 2004, I think we were at the old building at that time. You know, it's frustrating because the other lady said, you know, her husband didn't get a chance to vote. There was a lot of older people that, you know, didn't get to vote. I was talking to a lady this afternoon, her daughter lived in the South Precinct, her other daughter lived in the North Precinct. The one in the South actually rode her bike in, so she didn't get stuck in a lot of traffic, and she walked right in. And I guess people weren't aware of that once they got in the building that you could split up. You know, there was a lot of things that the township could have looked at and said, okay, we got this in our lap. You know, there's ways we need to do it. Can we say the South Precinct comes in one door, the North out the other? You know, that kind of stuff. It's like if you go to a restaurant and the waitress drops a hot bowl of soup in your lap, you don't say sit. What do? You jump up and try to get it off of you. And that's what the township failed. That was the biggest thing they failed. There's courts, and I guarantee you, and I'm not an attorney, if you would have went to a court and showed them these buildings, I don't even know if voter service comes out and looks at them. At least you could have met voter services with the meeting and said, look, this is what it is. And everybody knew it was going to be a hot race. So you could have just went to court and the judge could have said, okay, you've got a school, and the school was closed for 2 days. That is part of the town, the people that pay their taxes and everything else that live in the township, that's part of their building too. And I guarantee you, the judge would have said, told voter service that this is it. And the problem with voter service is, a lot of times they think they can just make the rules and everybody's supposed to obey. That's why you have courts to challenge stuff. And if the township would have done that, I guarantee you, you wouldn't have the problem with chatting now. That's all I
Well,
can
just so
say.
you understand, voter services is not an entity unto itself.
Correct, I
This is
understand.
under the Chester County Commissioners.
Right, but also at the same time, you got state representatives, you got congressmen. I mean, all those guys got weight and they can throw it around and use it. And that's what should have been done. And a judge, I guarantee a judge would have not thrown everybody in this building with the virus and everything going on. They wouldn't have done that. They would have, judge would have said you would have to split something out. It's that simple.
Did you vote here? Did you vote here?
I live in the borough. I had no problem, but I had to take some people into different places. Laycock Township, I took a van load over there. 15 minutes they were in and out. Total 15 minutes. And, you know, we have a lot of people who live in the township for years that, you know, to me, I wouldn't sit around 322 in a vehicle. I mean, that's just, you know, it's bad enough driving through and stuff. And I appreciate what the fire police could do. I mean, it was, they were throwing the same hot potato. You know, back in September, voter service didn't know. You gotta get active and tell them this, you know, we need to sit by this date, we're not, we're going
And
forward.
there's some good points there, but if you remember in 2004, another thing that you mentioned about the congestion and stuff, so we worked with Rush Shanahan, and what we did is we got access to one of the doors in the back of the chapel, opened that up to get people out of the building instead of clogging up the lobby.
Right. Well, I've been saying for years, back even with the Honeybrook Action Committee was, we never felt it was right to have it there to start with. We never, you know, figured in 2020 that it was gonna be, you know, a major pandemic was gonna create the problem, but it was issued back then with, the people from Tail High. It made better access to them, and if I understand he's right, at that time, there was even people wheeling in their beds.
What we're trying to say is that there's a difference when you have some people, especially on the party level, the committee people who are working together. And we did have people, Patty Long and Tom, we were able to work through a lot of those problems in the past, so that when we went from one election to the next, we already had some things worked out in advance. That didn't happen this time.
Well, yeah, I understand
I
it,
reached out to the committee people, and often I find out that the parties don't have those positions filled, and that's a failure there.
well, that's a failure on either one of the Republicans or Democrats, you know, not trying to get the position filled. You know, I know it's a lot of times not real glamorous or anything. I work the polls, handing stuff out, it's volunteer, there's a lot of other people, but the township should have got, you know, and said, hey, this is not gonna work, and you can't force it down our throat, because we've got the primary coming. Are you guys gonna be in the same situation then?
I've already pointed it out that we're less than 6 months away from the primary, and that we cannot wait, and we have to move on this next one. So that has been addressed, and I did speak to Jessica, and then what I asked her, I said, the next step, who is stepping up to work with voter services? She is stepping up. If she's not following through, you will hear in our next meeting if nothing is being done, because we can't afford to wait until January.
Correct.
And
Whatever
it takes, yeah.
I mean, did you guys even contact the commissioners, you know, that kind of stuff? You know, the easiest thing is, you know, if you go to the store and you're not getting the service that you want, you ask for a manager. And if you don't have to get the manager, you ask for the owner. You know, there is a chain of command. And, you know, it was just frustrating. I put a lot of time in to get people to vote, and then hear comments like, well, what a joke that was. And you have a lot of young people.
It is the same problem that the sheriff pointed out.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of young people
Nothing
that,
denies the opportunity to vote, and they should not be subjected to long waits that we experience. So we know that, and you know,
well,
we.
I have another question.
And taking the next step. But Sam, at this point, we do have to move forward.
Okay, I have one question. When you call voter service, who makes the final decision down there? Do they have to go to their board and ask, or is it just voter service, somebody in charge of voter service makes the decision? In other words, was a Republican and a Democrat?
The board made the decision.
Okay, the board did, but they didn't go any further to ask the Republican and the Democrat side their input on it.
We were told their board met and made the decision. That's what we were told.
Okay. I just think the township could have been more aggressive on it.
Can I just 2 points on the township? Does the polling place receive funds from the county? I mean, if not, I think our fire department, everybody else should get a pretty big donation out of this whole deal, if nothing else. And then 2, we keep going back to proactive planning. These are defined COVID restrictions. What about a class action lawsuit? If our whole community drops over death of COVID based on science, do you see what I mean?
Yes.
So, I'm done now tonight. I just had to get those 2 points out.
All right, Sherry?
But Sherry.
We do have a second. Sam, we do have a second open forum, so if you have some additional points that you would like to make. We do, looking at the time, we must move on to our business.
Does anybody else here want to speak?
Bill?
Bill Ford wants to speak.
I just want to thank the township for closing the road and working with us, because we wouldn't survive without Donnie and the road crew. There were 7 of us out there from 6:30 in the morning till almost 8:30.
Bill, we would like to thank you. You guys did a heck of a job out there. Trust me, you guys did.
And you guys don't get paid for it as compared to the
Yeah,
town.
we don't say.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's to keep people safe.
Yeah.
Did a great job.
But we couldn't have done it if the township wouldn't have let us close the road, so thank you guys.
All right, at this point, any other questions? All right, Steve, we'll start over to our new business, and we have a motion to approve the 2021 preliminary budget for all the funds and direct the manager to make the budget available for public inspection.
I make a motion.
Do I hear, you made the motion?
Yeah.
I'll second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Item 2, motion to approve, not approve the payment of all invoices prepared by the treasurer. Travis, approve?
I make it approve.
Okay, I'll second, all in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have item 3, David King, minor plan, development plan, 1063 Twin County Road, and that's parcel 22-3-50.
And they're here,
We
John.
have a motion.
Well, we have somebody here representing the plan, and if you could announce who you are?
Good evening, I'm John Williamson with Team Ag, and I'm here with David King, and we're requesting approval of 2 waivers. I don't know how much you want me to go in, how much detail you want, but Mr. King is proposing to build a poultry barn on his property at 1063 Twin County Road. And we've already appeared before the planning commission, and they've recommended approval to the supervisors for the 2 waivers that we're requesting, and also conditional approval of the minor land development plan.
John?
Mike, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, you should have a letter and a memo, I believe, in the board packet. The letter is dated October 27th, just outlining that recommendation, providing the formal stakeout of the building location. This is the poultry barn that was reviewed for the variance, if you recall, a month or so back. They had gotten paid for that. So the recommendation for approval of the 2 waivers, as was just noted a moment ago, and then conditional final plan approval, provided the applicant satisfies the Tacticon review letter of October 14th.
So does the board have any questions?
Nope. John, do you have any questions?
No, Travis.
Then I'll make the motion to grant both of them.
Okay, I'll second the motion to grant. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and thank you. What were the names of the gentlemen that presented?
It was John Williamson. What about,
We grant both.
No, they said A and B,
Oh, A
they
and
did both
B.
at one time.
okay, yes, John Williamson with Team Ag.
I took the motion from Travis that he was approving the motion to grant on both A and B.
Thank you.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, thank you to the gentleman who just presented. Let's go to item 4, motion to enact to the junkyard ordinance that will make both the property owner and the business operator responsible to comply with township regulations.
I
Do
make
we
a
have any
motion,
discussion, or do we want to go to the motion?
I make a motion to enact.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 5, motion to adopt, not adopt, a resolution to implement the fire fund and EMS fund accountability requirements. We have any discussion there?
Is this one on the table?
Yes. So that would be motion to not adopt and to.
Well, no, it'd just be a motion to table.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, just a motion to table.
Yeah, we're not adopt, okay, so this will be a motion to table and we will address it in December. So do I hear a motion?
I make a motion.
Table. I second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. And let's go on to item 6, the motion to award, not award, the bid for snow and ice removal to the low bidder for a dump truck and with plow and cinder spreader with operator.
Yeah, the low bidder was Will's Property Maintenance LLC, and they came in with a price of $150 an hour for the dump truck, with the plow and cinder spreader and operator, and the hourly rate for the skid loader with the snow blower and bucket came in at $120 an hour, also with operator. Will Property Maintenance has been the successful bidder for the last 4 years, and they've really done a fine job for the township, so I have no problem recommending them for this award.
All right.
So we have a motion?
Make the motion to award.
I'll second, all in favor?
Aye.
Could you scroll up, I can't see item 7.
All right, well, this is the item. Unfortunately, this is where we were going to award the bids for diesel fuel. Unfortunately, we received no bids for diesel fuel. So I would ask the board to approve a motion that allows me to either rebid the fuel contract or find a joint contract with some other consortium that will allow the township to join them for our fuel needs. And I'll report back at the December meeting.
What do you think, John?
And I agree that,
Why won't anybody bid on it? Because if
Well, I'm gonna start trying to find out, but,
Because if everybody go this high and drop back and forth?
well, no, there's, the way the bid is structured is that they are allowed to bid an escalator on top of what the fuel costs in New York on that day. So even though fuel prices can go up and down, their profit per gallon is gonna stay the same for the life of the contract. So, that's how they deal with this fluctuating price. I don't know if, quite honestly, if our quantity of fuel is so low that they don't want to bid, that they don't think it's worth their time. Because it's not a huge quantity of fuel per year. It's like, I'll say the last several years, we probably averaged somewhere around 7,000 gallons. And that's probably just enough that we have to bid it, but it's not very much to make it an attractive contract. But I'm going to talk to some people and try to get some help, and also try to find a consortium, because I think that'll better serve what we need. They typically bid this for large groups of municipalities and school districts, and so they have huge fuel needs that they can go out there and leverage decent prices. So if we can find one, that's better. If not, we'll bid it again.
So John, you'll make the motion, let Steve handle that, and then get back to us in December?
yes, and just a point, is this an item that we can discuss at the COG meeting, reach out to the other municipalities?
Well, you can certainly ask if any of them participate, and I'm sure some of them probably do participate in a consortium that's either in Chester or another county even, and just getting the information of, the contact information for that particular group would be very helpful.
All right, because we do have an initiative with the that, so, yeah, this is probably something, some of the other municipalities might be interested in discussing with us. And that meeting will be, first, week of December, because we, are unable to meet due to the holiday, Thanksgiving holiday. All right, the motion to authorize the manager to, okay,
I second.
motion to, you second, okay. I'll read it to the next one. I'll second, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Steve, we'll go ahead and look into that. Next item, okay, motion to authorize, not authorize the manager to advertise, the township's intent to enter an agreement with Barbicane, Thornton and Company to complete the township's 2020 audit. Do you make a motion to authorize?
I make a motion to authorize.
I'll second, all in favor?
Aye.
Item 9, a motion to approve not for the following financial security release recommended by taking on for Poplar Realty, Chestnut Ridge, Chestnut Tree, and Greason Road in the amount of $8,950 for completion of the required site improvements. Do we have any comments on that?
Just a background, John, the majority of that lease request has to do with installation of sidewalk in the development. There's 3 new houses that were recently constructed, and the sidewalk along the entrance road and along the one of the newly developed properties is what this lease entails.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're moving up to other new business. Scott, do you have anything that you want to add?
No, nothing at all right now.
All right, so we do have a person who reached out to us. He presented to us at the COG meeting last year when we hosted the meeting at the Township building. He represents a group called PA Futures. There's a opportunity where it's this huge data centralization project. What he wants to do is to approach the municipalities to show that if we have any interest in it, so he can go to some investors and say that there is an opportunity here to invest in this program. Alan will probably reach out to us in December to give us some details on that. And tomorrow there's, at 5 o'clock, Chester County Association of Township Officials, they meet at 5 o'clock, so I'm attending that as a virtual call. We'll also have Ready for 100, the energy discussion at 7:30, and I believe that should wrap it up for the items that we have. Okay, so could you scroll down, Steve?
Open forum next.
Okay. Steve, was there any other things that you needed to cover before we move to the open forum?
No, there's nothing else I have.
Yeah, I know that's where about Peter Park.
No, we're good.
Open forum?
Okay. All right, so we're back to the open forum. What I'll do is I'll start on the floor again. So do we have anyone on the left side of the room?
No.
And I think I'll say Travis's left hand. Anyone on that side of the room?
Nope.
Anyone on the right side of the room?
Yeah, it's just me again, John.
Yes, go ahead.
You know, the other lady sounded pretty upset. This might be a good time to reach out to fellow Republicans to try to get some of these positions filled. Sounds like, you know, there's nothing better when, you know, the bees are swinging around to, you know, do something. And, you know, probably the best time, I don't know the lady's name, I didn't catch it, but reach out to her and see if you want to, you know, fill a position, you know, or something like that, on the committee and stuff, so that's it.
And the committee people have to go out and get a petition and minimum 10 signatures, get on the ballot, and then they would be voted on in the primary election and then confirmed in the general election in November?
I don't think it'd be a problem, whole lot of problem getting 10 people signed in at this point, so.
All right then. So any other questions or comments? Anyone on the call? Dan or Sherry?
I'm done.
All right. I'd like to thank everyone for participating in tonight's meeting. And I do appreciate that you're speaking because that's what this whole purpose is. We're here to listen to what you have to say. And I know, I feel you're paid for what happened at the Township building and for voting. I just don't want to see that happen again. And with the pandemic, certainly escalates our concern. So I will now say one last thing for the veteran ceremony. Thank you for attending. The major intent of this is not so much having a ceremony that we've had in the past with the band and all that, but to have the opportunity to take a moment and to recognize those men and women. And if there's any names that we have missed, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to add the names of the veterans that we would like to include on our Township honor roll.
Did you add West Darby?
Yes, West's name is on there. All right, and I'm not going to miss any Marines, believe me. Okay. And yesterday was the Marine Corps birthday, in case some of you may not be aware of. And I always caution people that the United States was attacked. November 10th would probably be the worst time for the nation to be attacked, because the Marine Corps would probably be in very good shape since they're known for partying on November 10th. We will let that work it out. All right? So, I will now say that we need a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's take a look at the upcoming meetings. On November 12th, we have the Planning Commission meeting. November 17th, Land Preservation Committee. November 19th, the Recreation and Parks Board. December 2nd, Board of Supervisors Workshop Meeting. December 9th, Board of Supervisors Regular Meeting. December 10th, we have the Planning Commission. And did I hear Terry Schmidt, are you out there in the audience?
Yeah, I am.
The veterans, you're Navy, but we still recognize you.
That's okay. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay. Take care.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's that.